They say some women fear fire, while some simply become it. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of They Say It Takes a Village. Today's episode is extra special and very near to my heart because I have the opportunity of interviewing one of my bestest friends in the whole wide world, the lovely Roshni Khemlani Mehta. Now, to give you guys a bit of a background, Roshni is famously known for co-founding her brand, Isaac Azani, with her two sisters back in 2014. They have fiercely pushed strong female entrepreneurship, which now has basically taken them to being stocked in over 30 luxury outlets. To add to that, because that wasn't enough for Roshni, she's also founded her fourth child, I would say, Little IA. And this has also skyrocketed recently. So I'm not going to take too much from the interview. So without further ado, Miss Roshni.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. This is an absolute pleasure. I feel like we talked just now in the car, how I'm literally here having basically a coffee with my friend talking about your amazing life.
I know, it's wild.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Do you want to, since I obviously I only touched the surface of what you do, and what you do is incredible and the depths of it is amazing. Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And how long have you been in the UAE?
So, long story short,
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Cheshire, which is a small place around 2.5 hours outside London. And I moved to the big wild city when I was 18. I always knew I was going to live in a big city.
Yeah.
It was something that was, something I'd always wanted from a very, very young age. And I studied economics at the London School of Economics, pretty nerdy background. And I graduated and I did the typical thing, went into investment banking, which was the path that kind of everyone took when they were at LSE. My two sisters, funnily enough, both also went to LSE, and we all kind of came out doing pretty different things.
Yeah.
So Isaac Azani kind of started because back in 2013, I was working in an investment banking firm focused on private wealth in the consumer sector. I was the only girl on my team, so naturally gravitated towards luxury goods and consumer investments because I thought it was fascinating. And at that time, I identified this really clear gap in the market within the contemporary women's wear space. So we actually launched Isaac Azani very much from a gap in the market, as opposed to, I don't have that traditional fashion background where I studied design or anything like that. And I came up with this concept and I said to my sisters, listen, should we do this together?
Yeah.
And luckily they both agreed. And that's how Isaac Azani started.
It's amazing. And it's so true. There is a gap in the market. And I love how it did come from, it was almost like a strategic positioning. You saw something and you thought, oh, this would be really, really interesting to kind of explore that avenue a little bit more.
It was very much from a kind of strategic place because so many girls, fashion's a really hard industry to break into.
I was going to say, and it's super competitive.
It's super competitive. There's incredible designers out there, and it's very hard for everyone to intern with those. And that's usually like the path. The typical path is you intern for someone like an Alexander McQueen, and then it goes to another designer, and then you launch your own label. It's really difficult to break into fashion. A lot of really powerful groups control fashion. And so I always tell people that the way to the easiest path to success is to really carve out a space in the market that doesn't exist, that hasn't been filled. And that's kind of what we did.
Yeah. And you guys are killing it.
Oh, thank you.
Really. And I feel like, I've seen you guys sort of a little bit in the background, and you guys pour over picking each and every item so that it reflects, I'm almost like all three of your styles,
Because we have really different styles.
Yeah,
and
you can definitely see it come through in the stuff that you guys actually produce and make and design, because that's what I like about it, because you've got three different personalities, but somehow with a common thread that just adds, it's so unique. I don't know, I absolutely love the whole marrying of all of your tastes and what you kind of like and prefer, but somehow keeping quite consistent and faithful to the overall look.
So we only work with knitwear.
Yeah.
So that kind of is the common thread with all of the collection. And then within knitwear, it's so fun because you can play around with it. You've got your daytime knitwear, your lounge knitwear, your dressy knitwear, your embellished knitwear. And we've really found our niche in kind of elevated knitwear. But it took a while to get there. It's definitely, the challenges of not being from a fashion background, launching a fashion brand are really tough. We didn't have any connections. It was crazy amount of knocking on doors, really creepy things like trying to like guess people's emails and like getting error messages on like seriously. I remember that's how we got into like the inboxes of like one or two really major
And it wasn't
stores.
like Instagram was that big that you just DM, or was it? No,
it wasn't that big. It wasn't
yeah.
that big when we were starting out. A few years in, it became big, but that was literally how we used to kind of get into people's inboxes, was guess that email for a really long amount of time. It sounds ridiculous, but persistence helps.
Absolutely. I love it. I feel like no one gets anything done by just thinking, oh, I'm only given this, so I'm only going to go down that way. Try it all, failed, do it again.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. Now, of course, I mean, that's one thing. You're also a mom of 3.
Yeah.
3 little kids under the age of 6.
Under the age of 6, yeah.
Like, it's how I just
Crazy.
how do you do? I mean, I've got 2 and I feel like I can barely stay afloat, and you've got 3 with so much going on. We get into that a bit later. I'm going to find out I want the formula, the exact formula of what you're doing to actually remain quite consistent, I guess, in every aspect of your life. But let's see.
So I saw this really hilarious meme on Instagram recently, and it was something like, my first child gave me the confidence to be a good mom. My second child taught me not to judge mothers. That is my life. Like, that is my life summed up in a meme. Because, I always joke that I had my kids so close together because my first was, touch wood, relatively easy.
Yeah.
And, it made it so easy to get pregnant quickly and kind of do it all over again. And then I was just like, well, what is this? Because my second child has a very different personality to my first child.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different challenge altogether.
Yeah. It's funny how they're all so different. Like
I know.
night and day different.
It is. It's crazy. You can have 3 kids all from one mom, and they're totally different personalities.
Yeah, tell me about it. So just to take you back though, now obviously Aza Kazani at that point, it was established, running, doing its thing, being successful. And then you thought, I'll have a baby and I'll add something else to it. Then you created Little IA.
So Little IA was just a really natural evolution because, throughout the journey of Aza Kazani, it'd been a 6-year journey at this point. Me and my sister had both become mothers. And so, kids was just our life. Babies was our life. And the idea was actually born out of the fact that after my second child, I was gifted the same personalized blanket by 3 people that clearly had big budgets because, they sent me this really big hamper. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is like the most thoughtful gift. And, clearly a lot of money, time, energy has gone into the gift because it was like a massive hamper. But the quality of the actual items, it was polyester, it was pretty, it was obviously not so unique because 3 people had got me the same one. And it really had me down this kind of road thinking there has to be more personalized options in the market. Because clearly there's a beautiful need and desire to give people personalized items. A first-time mom.
It is thoughtful.
It's a beautiful
and when
gift.
something is personalized, you do tend to keep it. And it's not something that is just, as a gift you grow out of and that's it. You will keep those blankets if they've got their names on. Yeah.
And especially when you have multiple children,
Absolutely.
giving them something that's not just a hand-me-down, something that's something special for them.
Yeah.
And so I started doing a lot of research into the personalized goods space. And I found that the vast majority of brands, pretty much actually all of the brands, were focused on these kind of, I call them China catalog items, because they're really generic. You'll see them in hundreds of outlets. They're very kind of disposable. They're not really made out of high quality materials. And that's why I thought, there's a great gap for, mums like me that want to give something really thoughtful, but that's also made out of really good quality materials, eco-friendly, organic, wherever possible.
Yeah.
Something that's actually functional,
Yeah.
that's going to add value to someone else's life. That's not going to break the bank, because we understand that kids grow out of things very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And so that's how Little IA was born.
That's amazing.
Everything's designed by a team of mums. We design everything in-house. We sketch it, we sample it, we manufacture it, and that's the process.
It's beautiful. And there's this thing, I think it's the art of giving. I feel like you guys have placed so much emphasis on that. I feel like you cater to all sorts of celebrations and births and firsts of everything, and you do kind of, you go along the parenting journey from birth all the way through. And I find that number one, it makes parents' lives much easier, and number two, the fact that you, like you said, you've got like a high quality option to give to people that is not going to be just on to the next one, is so important. I find that in itself is something that that whole area needed to have a little bit of focus, to be able to gift people meaningful, thoughtful things that are going to last. It's very rare.
So I wanted to pick up on your point about making mums' lives easier, because we all have a million things to do. Where a lot of us are running our own homes, we're managing kids, we're managing meal planning, we're managing school schedules. And what was so important to me, actually, like in my top 3 priorities of creating a brand, was I wanted it to be a super seamless solution for mums that would make their life easier. So same day delivery is a really big thing for us. And people are still always amazed that, they're getting a personalized gift, same day delivery. And that's something that's not going to change, because I wanted something direct to consumer, where online you can, place an order and within minutes be checked out, in a few hours have it at your friend's house. And I think that's so important in this day and age.
Absolutely. It's true. I mean, it really is, to actually go down to the mall and get something. It doesn't happen anymore at all.
The time?
Nobody. I also find malls, honestly, are quite intimidating, and I would avoid them.
Distracting.
Yeah, distracting. And you can't bring kids, and you have to find the
Nightmare.
time. Yeah, so that is actually the easiest option. It saves time. And the thing is, you've got so much to choose from. That's what I like about it. It's not like you've got like one thing to, like a few things. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And you do cater, again, to lots of different occasions and lots of different ages. And
I'm all about celebrations.
I love
this.
I do. I love it.
So I'm all about celebrating like the little things. Like we have so many milestone occasion gifts, like, first month, second month, Easter, my first tooth, so many different things. And I think these things are the things you're going to remember.
Absolutely.
When your kids are older, you're going to wish that you saved their little tooth in a little
box or something.
Bag,
yeah.
And your memory boxes. I love all of these things. I think they're so special.
They are. It's good. It kind of, there's so much talk about like how parenting can be quite difficult. And then it's those little moments that are, good milestones, times that you are celebrating, those are the ones that you kind of,
you want to remember them.
You do. And you don't want to think, oh my God, they threw a tantrum and they didn't sleep that night or whatever. But there are moments of magic. And I feel like those are really, if you can bottle them up and package them and keep them for a different time, it's well worth it.
Totally agree.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. So that's your entrepreneurial journey. What about the motherhood journey? What was that like? Or do you want to?
So any mom with 3 kids under the age of 3, I think it's really unfair to say it's been smooth, because 3 kids under the age of 3 is tough for anyone. No matter how much free time that you have, it's challenging. Different kids, different needs. Everyone wants mom. You want to give so much of yourself to all of your kids, and you can't, because you've got other things in your day to focus on, like your work for the working mums, or cleaning the house, or organizing meal planning and groceries. There's so much that we as women have to be on top of in order for other people's lives to function.
Absolutely.
And so it's definitely been challenging, and so many, it's really helped me speaking to other mums, getting tips and tricks of how to make my life more seamless, how to make my life more enjoyable, because you want to enjoy it.
That's the thing. It's that support network.
Yes.
You need it. That support network. And I've never needed this much support in my life since I became a parent.
Yeah.
Support. Do you not remember we used to call each other every single like minute of the day?
Yeah.
Did you get this, or did he do that? And
I remember.
it was constant.
Yeah.
Let's talk about schedules. What about weaning? What about?
Yeah.
It was
I
endless.
think it's really unfair.
Yeah.
Like I feel like social media really glamorizes this like busy mum that's like doing it all, and it makes it look like it's something that we have to all aspire to be.
Absolutely.
But I just don't think it's real.
It's not.
It's not. Anyone that is, you know, getting everything done, you know, throwing the amazing birthdays and, you know, accomplishing a day at work and got these perfectly dressed children in their gorgeous matching outfits. Anyone that's doing that, I guarantee you, has some sort of network in place that makes sure that things are getting done. And it's unfair not to say that you have that in place.
1,000%. And this is the thing. If the network is not there, you're just trying to just keep it all together. It's not, it's what you see in the background. This is how, it's like a well-oiled machine.
It's a machine, and you have to be the one to create a machine that kind of works for you within your resources, within your circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people just don't talk about. You want to look like you're living this perfect life.
Yeah. I don't know why. It's the idea of perfection. I just did something about it the other day, and it's this, you set yourself up to fail. You know, I get striving for your best, but striving for perfection, I find that number one, the word is so flawed in itself. But it also, especially if you are a new mom, that shouldn't even be in the realm of thinking, because it's perfect is just something that shouldn't be, you know, it's so personal to every single person.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just be like, oh, this, I'm going to, like you said, you know, throw the perfect birthday parties. I'm going to have the perfect children that do exactly whatever. They're going to be perfectly behaved and not throw time. That's just not, doesn't exist.
I think there's a lot of shame attached to admitting that you need help. I think people feel that there's shame in saying, you know, I need help, or I have a nanny that helps me, or I have a cleaner that does my laundry.
Yeah.
I think people feel shame admitting that they can't take care of, you know, everything things in their life.
Yeah. Women do.
Women do. And it's really sad because, you know, one woman admitting her kind of support structure that she needs in order to function and to be the best mom for her kids and the best version of herself, just one mom telling that to another mom can really help them. It's like a knock-on effect.
Absolutely. It's bouncing off ideas.
Yeah.
We do that at work. Why would you not do that with your biggest job?
Exactly.
You know, so this is something that you have to talk to other people. You have to get the support. I mean, honestly, this is why the podcast came about, like to hear other people's stories, to understand that there are people there to help in whatever circumstances you may be in.
Yeah.
So it's not something, I never understood why this whole thing, like now we'll get to it, but this idea of solo, doing it all yourself and being able to potentially manage is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone should go down that path. With kids specifically.
I think a lot of it is just rooted in the fact that women are kind of conditioned to be martyrs for their family. We're conditioned to, we have to do it all and be it all and, you know, for everyone to thrive.
Yeah.
And that
meanwhile, you're exhausted and, you know, you're just like not dying the best version of yourself. Yeah.
But it is, I feel like there are like, you know, authors like Glennon Doyle who's like made this kind of concept. So she shed so much light on it. So it is changing. And I think we just need more of that.
Yeah. I totally agree. So now, obviously, kids, work, wife, social commitments, all of that go into place. I mean, at the moment, what would be, I mean, I guess not at the moment, back then, I mean, and now, what would be like, what were your biggest challenges, you know, trying to do this juggle?
Yeah.
And I feel like we all juggle at some point, but it's more specific to, you know, for you, for example, what did you find was the biggest things that you faced being a working mom and a wife and somebody's daughter and daughter-in-law and just having all that responsibility?
I think it's really about knowing yourself and knowing what fulfills you on a very deep level. Like I knew very clearly after I became a parent, it was the most beautiful, fulfilling, you know, feeling to have a child. But at the same time, I knew that I needed to be fulfilled by something also
Other
outside of being a parent. And learning that very quickly was very key to how I tried to structure my life. I knew that work had to be a very big part of my life. I also knew that I didn't want to miss out on a lot of things to do with my child. So in the early days when I just had one, I tried really hard as much as possible to, because I was working for myself, and that was a really big benefit. And I knew that that was a privilege it is such a privilege that I wanted to take advantage of that. I remember really clearly on Rian turned 3 months, like 12 weeks, and I started taking him to work for at least 2 to 3 hours a day. And that was my routine. I always joke with people, he grew up in my office. And that was the only way I could keep myself sane, by having my two big purposes in life, being with my family and running my company kind of come together.
Do you know, it's actually quite good, because then it probably counteracts any potential guilt you had later on, because you're like, well, he is with me.
It was great. I mean, obviously that didn't work when I had, added a second child in, bringing two, like I couldn't turn my office into a nursery.
No.
And also, I think the second really important thing is just this whole idea of balance. Balance does not exist. No. There is no such thing as balance. Like, if you think about it logically, because I've spent 3 years thinking about this question for myself, trying to balance, like, giving 10% to my kids, giving 10% to social, giving 10% to my husband, 10% to my work. But if you take that back, if you're giving 10% to someone, how are you ever going to expect to achieve extraordinary results and thrive in that area of your life if you're giving 10%? Like, from the outside, you can say, I've got 10 areas of my life that are really important that I'm giving 10% to. But if you strip one single area, 10% is, you're never going to get an extraordinary result from 10%.
True. You never really think of it that way.
And I read this really great book when I was really struggling. After I had Rihanna, who's my second child, I was really struggling to make impact at work and also feel like I was making impact at home. And I knew something needed to give because I was trying so hard to do it all. And I read this amazing book which really changed my outlook, which is called The One Thing. And it argues that if you want to succeed and achieve really extraordinary results in one area, you need to structure your day so that you're focused on that one thing, and structure your week so that you're focused on specific things on that time according to the demands of your life. And I slowly, this has been like a 2-3 year work in progress.
No, but you initiated it.
But when I started to see my life like that, like on one day when I know that I've got some really big things to work at in my office, and I will be there from 8:30, I'll come back at 6, and I've really focused that day only on work. It has this knock-on effect of 6 to 7, I'm so much more present with my kids because I've spent the whole day, I'm happy. I've left feeling like I've accomplished what I needed to accomplish. Then 6 to 7, another tip that I learned was kind of making sure I leave my phone in the kitchen, don't see it from 6 to 7, so that I'm fully with my kids. It has these little things that have helped quite a lot in the last 2-3 years.
But that's actually, it's really important that you said that's a really good tip, because, like you said, if you've got so many sort of things happening all at the same time, you feel like you're spreading yourself thin.
Yeah.
And like you said, you feel like you haven't done, sort of your best in this area and in that area. But if you carve out specifically the time, I call it like an hour of power, but maybe not the hour, it might be the actual day. So I love the fact that you can then potentially dedicate whatever day you have 100% of your effort on that. And then, whatever, 95 or 80% of your effort on that. And then you have mentally sort of structured it in your mind to know that I'm going to go in, I'm going to put in that hat today, and I'm going to go in head first with that, whatever the tasks I need.
But it comes with like a mentality where you have to accept the other things fall behind.
Yeah.
Like, you have to accept that you can't have your cake and eat it too. No. If I'm focusing 100% on my work, I'm not focusing, on my kids. It's exactly what, like that amazing Shonda Rhimes quote that, if I'm at an awards show, I'm missing bath time. Yeah. That is life. Yeah. And once you accept that, you're much happier. And this has taken me so many years to kind of get, and I'm finally, 5 years into my parenting journey, starting to accept that. Yeah. And even just like leaving my phone in the kitchen, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Because I'm there, but not really there. I'm still in the office.
No, and then you hear it, and you can't. If it's nearby and you can hear it going off, you're going to pick up the phone, and everything when it comes to work is potentially urgent.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's such a disservice to your kids to
they
not be present, who haven't seen you the whole day.
Yeah.
And just comes with a lot of acceptance of what is not going to get done when you're doing something. At the same time, when I spend a whole day with my kids, I'm definitely ready to work the next day and be productive.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that's actually, it's look, I mean, it's so complicated. I feel like minds of mothers is so complicated in the sense that, you know, this whole thing that, yes, you have dedicated 100% to something else, but something else falls behind. May not necessarily fall, but nothing would go wrong necessarily.
If you're consistent, it doesn't. I agree.
Yeah. And I think that is also something that, you know, sometimes for me, if I've got work or the podcast and I'm not doing a pickup or I'm not doing that, nothing is going to go wrong. It's almost just a little bit of relinquishing that control and just be like, you know what? I do have a system. Nothing will happen. I'm going to be back. I am there. And I find that when you, like you said, when you are there, you're way more present because you are active. Your mind is no, I've been gone for this. It's their time now.
I think with kids, the quality of the time that you spend, and you hear this all the time, and I'm so guilty of it too, because there are so many times where I'm with my kids and I'm scrolling on Instagram because I also need a bit of me time.
No,
I need to decompress.
I completely agree.
And you hear it again and again and again, and you know that it's right. And it's hard to do it all the time, but it's the quality of the time with your kids. Like 15 minutes doing like a dedicated story with them is way better than an hour of sitting with them like
and being distracted. And you know, and I always find if I'm distracted, I'm irritable.
Of course,
like
everyone is.
You know, if I'm distracted from, that's why I kind of want to finish up everything personally, and then I've got the time for the boys.
Yeah,
because then I'm not trying to do something, and it's impossible to get anything done with mine.
Yeah,
so
I mean, all of us.
It's just absolutely, it's so frustrating. So I know the days that I'm a bit pushed, whether something came in for work or something for the podcast, and I've got the boys, it's almost like I'm just on edge the whole time until there is a moment where I go to the bathroom and quickly answer that email. I can't do it. I'm not able to do the juggle. So I do completely resonate with what you said. And it's, you know, even again, it's, you know, with work, it's an outlet of almost like self-care.
It
is.
You
know, you love it, you enjoy it, you're fulfilled by it.
It gives me a lot of purpose.
Absolutely. And you come back not so much drained. I mean, yes, you're exhausted. Yes, you're tired, but almost a bit excited.
I think it's important for any woman, but especially mothers, to have that outlet, whether it's work, whether it's, you know, going to the gym, whether it's, you know, sitting in the garden, listening to music, reading a book. Yeah. It's so important to like know what your outlet is to make you feel at peace.
Yeah. I totally agree. This is mine. Every time, like this morning, I woke up excited.
That's
I know
amazing.
that, after we're done, when I go home to the kids, I'm automatically in a better mood.
And that's when you thrive.
Yeah.
I mean, you thrive when you find those pockets of peace and joy and purpose. Yeah. And I think it's a need. Everyone needs to find that for themselves. Absolutely. To be happy.
And whatever that may be.
Whatever it is.
I totally agree. So I guess then that's how you overcome those challenges. You just sort of
it's a work in progress. Yeah. I mean, I have weeks where I feel like I've got this down. Yeah. I've got the work thing down. I've got my kids down. And I have weeks where I'm just like sitting at home crying because like I just can't take care of my kids and there's behaviors and there's meltdowns. And I just don't know what's going on and why am I so bad at parenting? And it's literally like a roller coaster.
I know.
It's wild.
It is what it is. And it's actually it's quite comforting to know that I think everybody feels that way. Every single parent on the planet feels that way.
I mean, that's why it's so hard, because it's so wildly inconsistent. Yes. I mean, like my kids can be obsessed with pizza one day, crying that I've given them pizza the next day. It's just
it was like
yesterday. It's the inconsistency. It's the illogical aspect behind these years that make it very hard.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's very difficult for us, I guess. Maybe more in our generation. I feel like all of us kind of are very much A-type personalities, that we like to be in control and we want to, you know, we get the insurance and we do all of this to safeguard and, you know, sort of everything that we do is we can kind of predict.
Yeah.
Whereas
everyone wants to predict everything
all the time.
And I don't know, I feel like social media has had it's an amazingly positive effect in terms of, I feel like a large part of my content on Little IA is sharing these amazing 5-minute recipes that are healthy and nutritious and fun, or these amazing little tips and mama hacks. And it's so much goodness, but there's so much bad stuff also from social media. Last night, funnily enough, this actually happened yesterday, I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across this post by this really respected child psychologist who I think is one of the better ones, more on kind of conscious parenting. And she was saying, the tip and trick to, solving behaviors and tantrums is when you want to say no to your child, you do not say because. Like, no, you can't have a snack because, that's not healthy, or you can't watch a movie now because it's too late, or, you can't eat that because that's junk. And I read that thinking, oh my God, I always say, you can't do this because of this. Like, I'm going to change my behavior. Yeah. And then I think, okay, let me just scroll down in the comments. And then you have like 4 or 5 different people saying, actually, I've been a very successful child psychologist for 20 years. And I actually think saying because is integral, because
you're explaining.
You need to explain. And that's how you develop empathy in kids. They need to understand that their no is coming from a reason. And it's, that's how kids develop. Yeah. And I literally, in the span of 1 minute, went from thinking, oh, this is amazing, to, oh my God, how awful. Yeah. And this is 24/7. Yeah. Because we're listening to so much conflicting advice. And it's so hard to be a parent these days.
It really is. And that's the thing. I feel like every single episode we talk about the really wonderful aspect of social media, and in the same sentence, the damaging effects that it has. It's the weirdest duality. And you're absolutely right. The amount of conflicting information, this style and that parenting tip versus that one, and this weaning and that.
Because it all sounds great. Yeah. Like in practice, I was literally like, oh my God, this is great advice. Yeah. Like I always say, no, you can't because it's junk. No, you can't because it's late.
Me too. Yeah.
And I thought this is a game changer. And because it's all masked as really positive, good advice all the time, it's really easy to get bogged down under all of this and forget your wants as a parent, what you want for your, like,
what feels right for you,
what you want from your relationship with your child, which is different for everyone.
Absolutely. It's hard.
So I think that's the biggest challenge, at least for me, in being a parent in this day and age, is all of this conscious behavior. Don't shout at your kids. You're going to create this awful problem when they're in their 30s and they're going to think about when you shouted at them, when you hit them. It's so difficult.
Look, I'm all for it, but there's a point. You've asked for them to put their shoes on after 20 times,
I know. I mean, and I don't think, very few people in our generation were raised by these conscious, nice, okay, you do that. Like that just did not exist.
It was a clear threat. If you don't put on your shoes.
Sleeping in the garden, that's it. And it works.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of positive conscious parenting that I do definitely abide by.
I think that's the takeaway. You pick and choose what works for you. Mm-hmm. Whatever is going to work for you is great. Whatever doesn't. And I feel like sometimes, it's more stressful if it doesn't come naturally. If you are going against, of course, if it's bad, if it's something that
has to be natural.
Yeah. But if I've really recognized in myself, my natural reaction is negative 100%, I have to change it.
Yeah.
But if my natural reaction is, okay, acceptable, I'm just going to go with it. As it is, it's tough. I take the advice on, and like we all do, the information is right there in our palms. Mm-hmm. So you take whatever seems to be working in your family unit, in your setup with your children, whatever that might be, and you just try your best.
Yeah.
The rest of it, it's good to be educated and woke, but also at the same time, it's like
you have to do what feels right for you. You have to do, and that comes with having a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's really, really important to be in touch with what you want as a parent, for your family, for your children, for your relationship, I feel.
No, it really is. Now, this is kind of a more wishy-washy question. So obviously, this is called It Takes a Village. We live in the UAE. So our village, I would assume, is this. But you've also got family in the UK. Do you think this ability to be so mobile, for people to kind of work in a place and have family in another, do you think, I mean, as we know, the village generally has shrunk. Our parenting village is no longer what it used to be, when you are literally in a town and the entire village is surrounding the raising of that particular child. Why do you think that we're struggling in that regard?
You know, I think, okay, again, coming back to social media,
Yeah.
where we're living in a culture where everyone's kind of living behind screens.
Yeah.
There's very little one-on-one time. There's very little in-person time, and that is so important for real connection. And also living in Dubai, we live, you know, the vast majority of people here are expats.
That's right.
They're raising their kids quite often without their own families, without any immediate family. And so their village becomes their friends who in 5 years' time might move somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And that's really, really tough. It's really tough to kind of have friends that become your family because you don't have your family around you, and then see them leave. And I think this is a problem. And it's something that, you know, things like what you're doing, it's these kind of resources will help people actually create the village they need, because we do need a village.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really tricky issue when you're an expat.
Yeah. I think anywhere in the world, not just, you know, anywhere that you are sort of disconnected with immediate. But I mean, yes, lucky for, I mean, also your husband's family lives here. So there
Which is a huge help.
It's a huge help.
I think it's so helpful to what we were saying before about how you want to structure your day. It's a privilege to be able to work.
100%.
You need to have the right infrastructure in place.
Absolutely.
You need to have, you know, daycare or the ability to afford daycare or a nanny or, you know, grandparents around to, you know, when I travel a lot for work. It also comes with, you know, having an incredibly supportive partner, which, you know, I'm very grateful that I do.
Yeah.
These things are all part of the village.
Yeah.
And they take a lot of effort to cultivate. And for a lot of people, they might not have the means to cultivate it. And that's a really dark place to be in when you're in early motherhood.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you need resources, you need help on feeding and sleep. And it's...
Do you have any sort of, let's say, just take-homes or tips on how somebody like a new mom can put herself in a place where she can be surrounded by a small community or connect with other parents?
I think it is so important where you can to find those, you know, those local community center classes, because pretty much every city, major or non-major, has them.
Yeah.
Whether it's like at your little library or you know,
or the actual classes.
the
Yeah,
actual
you can take
classes.
the baby classes.
Like I remember I
Yeah.
used to take Rian when I was, you know, one child in and had a bit more time to do all of these amazing classes.
Same.
To, you know, this really sweet music class in a little gym close to our house. It was very basic, but it just makes you feel for 45 minutes of the day that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And
you and I'm pretty sure you sat and chatted to all the other moms.
of course, and
yeah.
everyone, you realize very quickly that everyone is winging it.
Yeah.
No one knows what they're doing. Everyone's trying to create this little happy life for themselves and for their child, trying to do the best they can. And it's so important to connect with mums at the same stage as you.
I totally
so
agree.
important.
I totally agree. I find it's the comfort in knowing that they're all going through the same thing. You know, it is this sort of, it's almost like a little gang mentality. You know, it's safety in
100%.
numbers. You feel comforted by the fact that this is not only me.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, one of my tips is create a WhatsApp group. If no one else is doing it, be the person that's like, listen, this was really nice today. Let's have a WhatsApp group going and post in that group when you need a doctor recommendation, when you need something for an allergy, when you are a bit bored and you want someone to come over for a play date or you want to go to the park. These WhatsApp groups saved me at the beginning.
That's
It was so handy, and you just feel like you're not alone and that someone's always there to help.
Yeah. That's actually such a good one. I never did it, but I can see the benefit. It would have been really beneficial to go to these places and, you know, have these classes and things, and then speak to the moms or dads even, and have a WhatsApp group.
And
Because
the beautiful thing about Dubai is because there are so many expats, there's so many people craving this
absolutely
same resource. So you're not going to get people saying, you're not going to get so much pushback on it. You know, you're not going to look like the crazy mom that wants
give me
everyone.
your number.
Because everyone wants that here.
Everybody wants to
And
connect.
It's one really amazing thing about living in the city is that there are so many like-minded people that are in the same situation as you.
Do you know, it's so funny you say that. You know, I feel like every time I go to a park or any park, I always end up switching numbers with the parent that's there.
Yeah,
if my
it's
kids
an
are playing with
amazing
it
thing
and
about
you're
Dubai.
talking, and I literally, and the thing is, I'm not, I feel like at our age, making new friends is a bit difficult.
It is.
I think when you're 17, you have one thing in common and you're best friends for life. Whereas with us, it's very much like, who are you? You busy lives and all that kind of stuff.
I completely agree. But I actually think that early motherhood, especially with your first child, gives you an amazing window. Because if I think of all of the really good connections that I've made the last 5 to 10 years of my life, all of them have come from being a mom.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of the new friendships that are very deep. And that's really, really special.
It is. And it's that transition in life, to feel that transition in life. And it's things like that. I mean, for me, like, I feel like my relationship with you strengthened after we became parents or while we were
100%.
pregnant. Like, I'll never forget it, kind of thing. I'll never forget that, I had the baby, you came to the hospital. I would never, those early postpartum days.
You don't forget these friends. They form such major bonds.
Absolutely.
Like, I will always remember that I was the first visitor for your son in hospital.
I literally had the baby a few hours later. Yeah. So that, for me, I've got goosebumps. But yeah, it's these type of moments and these types of friendships in big transitional life stages. Yeah, they're formed fast and strong.
That's why, like, there's so much. It's very hard being a mom, but there's so much beauty in this period of our life also. Like, just thinking about how our friendship has developed since we've been mums, like, it's like jumping off a cliff and just having someone that's like kind of in like this little parachute with you saying, I'm here, we're doing this together. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, it is. Oh, it's gonna make me cry. Okay, I'm gonna shift a little bit now. So obviously being a mom is beautiful and hard at the same time, but sanity, it has to remain for the good of everybody. A friend of yours and now mine, Harriet, came onto the podcast, and we talked a lot about identity and sort of that balance after becoming a parent and having a baby. And one of her like big sort of things that she wanted to drive is to be truly kind to yourself and looking after yourself in whatever sort of capacity you can. So for you, what is Roshni's go-to self-care? What is something that really makes you feel good? I've taken that and I've done that just for myself, and I feel so good about it.
I think self-care just does not come naturally to mums because we are always thinking about the free time that we have, like what else can be done for the kids, because it's so hard to check that list off of what needs to be done for the house.
I feel like kids. Every hour needs to be accounted for.
Exactly. It's so hard. But I think Harriet's really good at kind of speaking on the self-awareness that you need to understand that you do need to be taken care of to make yourself the best mom possible. And my self-care looks a bit different to my self-care in my 20s, which was like going on a spa day. My self-care now is, honestly, it sounds so boring, but making sure like once 1 or 2 times a week, I'm in bed 7:45, 8 after I've put the kids to bed. I will get into bed straight away, read a book, go to sleep early. And it sounds like it's really achievable, but it's not. There's a million things to do every day. I also want to see my friends and maintain some sort of like social life.
Absolutely.
And so just making sure that at least 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes I'm in bed by 7:45, 8. I'm a massive bookworm, love to read. It relaxes me. It feeds me. And making sure I get at least 2 days a week where I read before bed is a big form of self-care. I love to sit in my garden and listen to music. It's a huge one for me. Anyone that follows me on Instagram knows that like I'm very regularly in the garden with my kids painting. So making sure I do that a few times a week.
I love that. I love the getting into bed. No, but it's good for your mind, body, and soul. The sleep, the relaxing, the no screens, the reading a book. I mean, it couldn't get better than that.
Like that for me is my happy place. Like when I'm in bed and I know that all 3 kids are sleeping.
No one needs
also
you.
Takes the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one needs me. Everything's been done. I live for that feeling.
I'm going to do that tonight.
Yes, I live for it.
That's actually, it's such good advice because, it's one of those things that, you see these memes all the time. It's like, should I go to bed? Should I finish the show? Should I do this? So, but, again, again, for example, with Simran, a friend of ours, well, yours and mine, she was saying, for example, getting sleep. That is something that should be done and prioritized.
Agreed. And it's not easy.
No, it's not
Like,
easy.
what
For
you
a
just said.
parent, it's a holy grail.
I'm like sitting in bed. I'm like, should I watch a show? It's
Yeah.
8. Actually, if I can watch a show, I can watch an hour. But then I know that after I watch a show, my brain is
It's
going to be wired,
Yeah.
and it's going to be really hard to fall asleep. So it is a form of self-care because it's a form of setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I need to sleep early tonight, and I want to have a good quality of sleep tonight.
Yeah.
And so
I love
for me,
it.
that is self-care is about boundaries.
I love it. I'm totally going to incorporate it.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it twice a week.
And see the happiness shift.
I will. I'm going to see. And I'm going to keep you guys posted. So that would potentially be the most relaxing part of your day?
Oh, by a mile.
Okay.
The most, like, my happy place, being in bed with a book, or kind of maybe going to a restaurant with my husband and eating comfort food, because I also love to do that. You know, I'm a massive foodie.
Yeah.
Those two things, I'm the happiest.
And it's good because she gives amazing recommendations as well, food-wise.
Oh God, I'm such a foodie.
Like, every time I'm like,
I
we
live
really
to
need,
eat.
we need a date night. She's got a place for you. We need some good food. She's got a place for you.
Always,
Yeah.
always.
So hit up my girl. Okay. So we kind of touched on challenges for parents, challenges with work. What were some of the big ones that stand out in your
Oh
mind?
my God, where do I begin?
High level.
So many. I mean, managing a business
Yeah.
alongside anything else when it's not your full focus. Work comes down to, what are your aspirations?
Yeah.
Where do you want to take your business? Because not everyone has the same aspirations for their business, and that is not, you should not think that to be successful I have to reach X millions, or everyone's version of success is so different. And learning what was success to me was a really, really big part of, after I became a mum, managing my work in order to allow me to achieve my goals. Because I work, obviously, it gives me a lot of purpose, and it is a form of self-care for me. But I also believe that, my work should drive successful results.
100%.
And so that has been challenging, kind of managing, not being able to have 100% focus all the time. I was in London recently, and I was taking my kids for Easter break. And of course, I wanted them to have a great holiday. I wanted to switch off, but I'm still working.
Yeah.
And there was one moment I remember so vividly of that trip where my son was playing in the lounge, my daughter was napping, and my baby was kind of running up and down the corridor. And I had a digital marketing phone call that I had to take. And all I could hear was kind of screaming in the corridor, to the extent where I had to pick up my baby, take her on the call with me, where she, the whole time kept trying to ask for her teddy bear song on the phone. And I'm doing this like digital marketing meeting. And it's kind of, I've come to a point in my life now where I have to accept that this is my life.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have days like that, especially when I'm traveling, where, I am doing a meeting with a crying baby, touching the phone, asking for teddy bear song.
Yeah.
And that is not,
what
it's not great,
No.
but it is what it is.
But that's the reality, and that's the authenticity of your life. You are a mother and an entrepreneur. So you're a great mother and a great businesswoman. So why would either one not be integrated with each other? I feel like, sorry to cut you off, but I feel like that's a position where women struggle with so much.
Yeah.
In order for me to be professional, the kids have to be sidelined. That should not be the case.
I mean, that is the sad reality of the corporate world that we live in. And so that's been a big challenge.
Yeah.
But aside from that, actually just being a CEO, running a team, as I mentioned, it's been really important to me to have a lot of women in my office, and there's especially a lot of mums in my team. And, who better knows a product for a preschooler or a toddler or a baby than a mum who's actually using these products every single day. And, managing that has been a bit of a challenge. We kind of first started doing this whole concept of part remote working, part office working contracts after COVID, which was a really new thing for me. And just getting to grips with these kind of contracts in this kind of working environment where half my team who are mums want flexibility, work in the office half the week and work at home half the week. That's been challenging, but I have a lot of flexibility, so I want to give that to other moms.
Absolutely.
I understand that they want to be there for the recitals and for the football practice, and they should be there. I don't want anyone working for me to miss these amazing moments that I get to have with my children.
That's honestly, it's powerful, because you get so many people dropping out, really highly skilled, very talented women dropping out of work once they become a parent, purely based on the fact that there's lack of flexibility.
100%.
And I feel like
huge one.
You kick drive your productivity after becoming, at least I did. I'm doing way more now that I'm a mom professionally than I ever did when I wasn't a mother.
I always say moms are my favorite people to hire.
Absolutely.
Because they know how to work harder than anyone else. They know how to multitask.
So it's not, I don't know why this is, and it's proven, it's so clear. So
I'll tell you why. It's because it's a lot more challenging for CEOs to manage their workforce when half the people are in and out.
Yeah.
It is a challenge, but if you can get that down, and we're still learning, it's really powerful to have amazing women who are so hardworking that need the flexibility in your work team.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Amazing, and keep it up, because really that in itself is a very, very strong suit, because you do have, sort of employee retention, and you've got people that want to stay and work with you and are dedicated. It's like your brand becomes theirs, and this type of style, I think, is usually the goal for the majority of industry, or, sort of when you look at like a corporate culture and things like that. So I absolutely love it.
It's great,
it's very empowering.
It's great having mums on the team, because we literally go home. Imagine this: we sit around a room, we sketch out a product, and then a month later it's going to come, and we see the sample, and then we take them home, and we actually
try them on your own children. Yeah,
and it's super fun, because we each come back the next day and say, well, my kid thought this, and this color works, and this print didn't work, and this was a bit harder to open. And that is exactly how we design our products, which is why I always tell people, don't write us off as a personalized brand, because that's not just what we are. We are designing these products so that they actually add value to your life.
Functionality. Yeah. Make it easier for everybody. I love things like, even on the bags, that the pockets for the water bottles. Do you know how many times I fumble for water bottles if they're at the bottom of my bag, or they leak because they're not upright, or it's that type of stuff.
It is. And I'm a very, I'm one of those people, everyone who knows this about me. I need, like, everything that I need needs to be like there. Almost
like just you. I kind of say, when you've got the kid screaming in the back and you reach down in the car while you're driving,
exactly.
If you can somehow know what compartment it is, it makes your life easy.
This is how we design stuff. There needs to be a pouch for my antibacterial. There needs to be a pouch for my cutlery, a pouch for my wipes, a pouch for my phone, a pouch for my keys.
I love it.
And that's how we do things. And I feel like that has come from having amazing moms in our team.
Well done. Well done. I mean, I knew that you have a big, sort of a big mom team, but not to this extent.
No, it's everything about our brand.
I love it. Do you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What can we expect from Roshni in 5 years?
Well, I hope I'll be running a very big business. As you know, we're still kind of in startup mode, but we've been, the brand has been tremendously well received in this region.
Touch wood.
Touch wood. It's been an amazing journey. And I really hope that we just continue to build. How our brand has evolved is we have continued to listen to our customers about what they want, what they need, and we've expanded accordingly. So I hope in 5 years I'm sitting here with, a really all-encompassing range. I definitely want to build upon products for mums because I want to build products that make my own life easier. Mums get left behind, and I don't want that. Products for mums, even products for dads. Last year we did our first products for dads at Christmas, which was super fun. So just kind of becoming a company that services parents, all children, and just building up on what we've got right now. I spoke about this earlier with you, but we are about to launch a really exciting feature on our website called Little IA Loves, which is our marketplace. And it's going to be a very, very curated marketplace, which consists of brands that I love. Most of them are very similar. They're also personalized. They are homegrown. Most of them are run by parents. And they're really phenomenal businesses and products. And we're going to be launching that in the next few weeks. And hopefully I'll be sitting here in 5 years' time with hundreds of brands on that platform.
I'm sure,
which is really exciting.
No doubt. I'm so excited, and I can feel it. I feel, you are consistent and dedicated, and that's it. I mean, that's all you need. You have taken an idea and made it your own and made it incredible and so heartfelt and thoughtful, and you can really see that come through.
Thank you. That's my goal. I want everything that we do to be authentic, to resonate. Like, it should never be a product that's, you know, for the sake of, because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly
Everything
what
needs
it
to have
definitely stands out.
It needs to have our own feel.
Yeah.
Even our wash labels, I don't know if you've seen them, but every wash label of ours has a little quote that helped me when I was a new mom. And we really think about, you know, we think about our moms that are going to receive this, our parents, our caregivers that are
you do
using
the
the
product
product
for the community. Like, you know, you bring people together, you support the community. You've got a wonderful Instagram, which I will link all of her details in the show notes and all over social media. But, you know, you follow through. There's been so many times I've saved so much of your, whether it's recipes, whether it's quotes, whether it's inspirational, you know, things here and there. I absolutely love it. I feel like I go to it as like an encyclopedia, like what's on there today. You know,
that's so good. That is honestly a really big compliment.
And really, I can show you. I think you've made like a homemade chicken nugget. I literally did it the other day, you know, and I saved it from ages ago.
I go through this back and forth because I know a lot of brands in the region are, you know, they run their accounts very much as brands.
Yeah,
like everything is brand.
No, it's very much yours. Very much a community.
And I run the account myself, and I know that, you know, if I was just looking at branded product all day, I would just swipe off.
Absolutely.
I want to add value. Yeah. I want to show people, you know, the book that I'm reading, the recipe that I'm doing this week, the tip or trick that I learned. I want to share that stuff because I want our platform to be about enriching people.
I love it.
Not just product.
Girl, you're doing it. You're enriching. And I love it. Top 3 tips for parents wanting to live their passions and do what they want to do professionally and raise kids at the same time.
Top 3 tips.
I have to say, I'm going to include your previous one about trying to dedicate a day where you're 100% present in one and then 100% present in the other kind of thing.
Yeah, throwing out the idea that there's balance, because balance does not exist.
I felt like that was the top tip, top take home of this episode.
Yeah, that's been a big one for me. The second one is, I don't know if this is a tip, but I think knowing yourself is so important to being a good parent. Knowing what you want to achieve in your life, whether that be work or not work related, because I don't think you can be the best parent to your kids unless you know what truly makes you happy. So actually taking the time to learn yourself, like to learn who you are as a person, has helped me a lot. I used to read crazy amounts of kind of self-development books and growth books when I became a parent, and I feel like because of that I know myself much better. I know what works for me, and knowing what works for you and your family is so important. And the third one is just remembering to enjoy it. Actually, what you said about kind of taking things that you hear, because we are all inundated with information on social media about what to do and how to parent and how to feed, and dairy, non-dairy, all of this. Doing what comes naturally to you and trying really hard to kind of put the rest aside, kind of drown it out. I'm going to add a fourth, because this tip has really helped me. Putting your phone away when you come back from work if you're a working parent, just for an hour. It has been a game changer that another founder who I respect a lot, Olivia from Hello Chef, another female founder who's a mum, she told me this it was the time where I was really struggling, and I told her, listen, I don't think that I can be the entrepreneur that I want to be and the mother I want to be at the same time. I feel like that's not achievable for me. And that led to a lot of kind of working on myself, given what she had gone through. And that tip has stayed with me ever since. Leave your phone switched off for an hour when you come home. It's made all the difference.
I love it. I'm definitely going to do it today.
Yeah, try it.
I will.
And then call me after.
I will. The moment I switch it on, by the way. Gosh, this kind of ends our like little interview. I feel like we might as well have should have had breakfast and coffee. So obviously I start the interview with a quote or a saying, and I end it with one too. But I wouldn't say it. It would be from the guest. Okay. Do you have one?
I do. Okay. I have a favorite quote. I don't want to get it wrong though, so I need to think about this. Okay. But this quote's really special to me because I read it when I came to learn that a very close friend of mine's sister had stage 4 breast cancer,
Okay.
which was awful. It was a few years ago. And I remember reading this quote in her bio, and it stayed with me forever. And I ended up buying a few of the books made by that author of the quote, and I gift them to a lot of people because they're incredible. And the quote is, "You don't have a right to the deck of cards that you believe you should have been dealt with, but you have an obligation to play the hell out of the ones you're holding."
I love it.
And it's by Cheryl Strayed, who, if you've not read her book, you need to go out today and buy her book, Tiny Beautiful Things, because it will change your life.
I will.
And it's a really beautiful quote.
It's really fitting as well. It's perfect. Oh, Roshni, thank you so much. Thank you for
so nice.
doing
Thank
this.
you for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so
And
much.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
I want to say that.
Thank
I'm
you.
so proud of like this
So
idea
sweet.
that has become this huge thing. You feel the momentum in Dubai because we don't have so many resources like this. And what you're doing is amazing.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. It is hard work, but I enjoy it. And I think that's what makes the difference. You know, it's not wasted effort. I really like it. And I have literally have had the privilege of hanging out with you for the past like hour and a half. So you meet these wonderful people, and everyone is inspiring, and it's a blessing. So I am so thankful to you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, I'm gonna, link every single one of her social media, website, everything in the show notes on Instagram. This video will obviously all go up on YouTube as well. So you can, follow her, buy her stuff, because it's just unbelievable. You are gonna love her page and what she's all about if you don't already. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to They Say It Takes a Village. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I look forward to bringing you another one next week. Don't forget, please subscribe, rate, and review so I can reach and help even more parents. And if you've got a topic that you'd like me to cover, please head over to my Instagram page, ittakesavillage.me, and drop me a line.